Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Matthew 5:8.
Why would he say that if there were no pure at heart people that walk the earth?
With God, there is always more. More love, more life, more freedom. Welcome to Zoweh's Exploring More with Michael Thompson. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Our Heavenly Father has provided many delightful inns for us along our journey, but He takes great care to see that we do not mistake any of them for home." Join me and the team as we explore the kingdom together, discovering the deep truths and offering encouragement for the journey. There is always more.
Welcome, friends and allies, to the Exploring More podcast. Michael Thompson hanging out with S.J. Jennings. We're in part 2 of a two-part series on living wholehearted.
Getting
your heart back.
Yeah.
Understanding the idea and the theology, really, of the good heart. And hanging out with shout out to our technician Caleb here and Serena in California, and Brooke, who is editor, all the team that goes into the Exploring More podcast. Yeah, season 3 here. We're rolling, man.
We're in it.
We're a few miles down the road, which is awesome. And before we get way into a bunch of stuff we want to get way into, I want to take a quick break and let you watch this.
We're offering something better than Dunkin' Donuts, better than Starbucks, better than classic black coffee, better than frou-frou frothy latte stuff. Zoweh has saving bucks. Head on over to zoweoutpost.com/free. We've got 35 resources available for those who are interested in more. Because there's always more at Zoweh. The masculine journey, mothering. You are the beloved, warfare and training, live events, soaking prayer, and so much more. Feed your mind and soul with our Zoweh Savin' Bucks page. zoweoutpost.com/free. Back to you guys.
Welcome back. Always cool stuff going on at Zoweh.
Heck
Lots of wild things with our team that are that's awesome.
Always good things.
Yeah. So let's dive back in because part 1, awesome. Love talking about this and you said something off camera, SJ, about, in the biblical theology of the heart that is available for free on our website. Yes, that does sound like
ZowehOutpost.com.
Because that sounds like a commercial. So if you go to Zoweh.org and then go to the Outpost or Zoweh.org Zoweh Outpost.
ZowehOutpost.com.
Thank you.
Just look for free stuff there.
Yeah. And you can type in the search bar, biblical theology of the heart. So, but you said something funny about...
Maybe we can put that in the link in the description below. That'd be way easier for you to find it. But
So, after about, 10, 15 pages, you're like, okay. It's good. I get it.
I get it.
Yeah. That was my point. Trying to take the reader to that place.
Man. It was.
I did get an A talking about flunking accounting last time in this paper that I had to do. I did get an A, and so
it's worthy of reading.
I'm not sure if it was the overall theology of it or the writing or just what, but
maybe the combo.
Maybe.
We left off with a little bit of a cliffhanger last time, though, because I was going to share a definition from Vine's Expository Dictionary of Biblical Words.
Yeah, that's a big book.
I need a definition for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vine's. Yeah. So, go ahead. This is good.
So the heart is regarded as the seat of emotions, seat of knowledge and wisdom, and can be used of the man himself or his personality. It is also considered the seat of conscience and moral character. So that's a lot of chairs.
Yeah.
In the heart there.
Mm-hmm.
Seat of emotions, knowledge and wisdom, conscience and moral character.
Yeah. Easton's Illustrated Dictionary of Biblical Terms. It's not a one-upping, right? But regarding the heart, Easton states The heart is the center of spiritual activity, and that is a good indication as to why.
Mm-hmm.
The heart is the center of spiritual activity and all the operations of human life.
Right.
I mean, Proverbs 4:23.
Guard your heart, for it is
The
the...
wellspring of life.
Mhm.
So when you start dropping into some of these references, these theological seminary divinity school staples,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when you start dropping into those Strongs and Vines and Greek and Hebrew, Easton's, Unger's. Oh, I have Unger's somewhere.
I forgot about Unger's.
Yeah, Unger's Bible Dictionary says it is the center of the entire man, the very hearth of life's impulse.
Wow.
It's a big deal.
Yeah,
It's why two kingdoms are at war.
absolutely.
It's why Jesus came so that you could get a new heart.
Mhm.
You know, Jeremiah and Ezekiel. I don't want to get out. We want to get back to Proverbs in a minute.
Yeah. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so here's the before and after, right? Ezekiel 14:3, Son of man, these men have set up idols in their hearts, so you can set up idols in your heart,
Yep.
and put wicked stumbling blocks before their faces. That's the before, Ezekiel 14:3. Ezekiel 36:26, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you the heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah does the same thing. Jeremiah 17. All right, this is Old Testament. I get it. But this is, the heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? Then you go 7 chapters later in Jeremiah. God has very good news concerning our heart. I will give them a new heart. I will give them a heart to know me, that I am the Lord. I mean, it's almost like a transplant.
I've never heard them taught that way in church. Now, you know, I'm sure there's churches out there that are teaching this way, but I'm just saying, I heard Ezekiel 14:3.
Yeah.
I heard Jeremiah 17.
Yeah.
You know,
So here's the
you
let me get
you
real.
don't hear the replacement plan.
Listen,
All right.
let me get really dadgum technical with you. So there are people in covenant theology, Reformed theology especially, that believe that transplant and that transformation of a new heart does not happen until we're home. So that then that stays consistent with the idea that your heart is wicked
Mm-hmm.
and deceitful,
Mm-hmm.
and that dispensationalism,
I need to look it
the
up.
dispensing of God's gifts, His way, the things that are on a timeline and are eternal, if that makes sense, that are on a timeline and are eternal. There's that God is dispensing things
Mm-hmm.
in the timeline. So we see, that's why we have an old covenant and a new covenant.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very, very important. Are you an old covenant person or are you a new covenant person?
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus made it clear in Matthew 6 on the Sermon on the Mount. He wasn't here to get rid of the
Obliterate the law. He's here to
old,
fulfill
it.
Yes.
So there is an update. There is an upgrade. If there was a 1.0, there's a 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
So just for whoever's really analyzing you and me and Zoweh, I mean, we are bent towards new covenant theology,
For sure.
not forsaking Psalms and Jeremiah and Proverbs
Of
and
course not.
Leviticus and Deuteronomy. It's part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's all pointing to Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
and Jesus points to the Father and points to us and points to the kingdom and how it works and how all that works together.
Right.
If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. So here we go in Jeremiah, right? The heart's deceitful. And then that's Jeremiah 17. But you go to Jeremiah 24, I will give them a heart to know me. You have to have the equipment,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's from the first.
And who gives it to you?
Yeah, the Lord does.
Of
It is-
course.
yeah. And that I am the Lord. They will be my people and I will be their God. Now, is in Jeremiah, right? They will be my people. Is this just Israel? Is this just the Jews? Or is this Jew and Gentile? Is this promise of a new heart technically
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, at that point it was given to them. But what does Jesus make very clear in the New Testament?
That it's for all.
It's Jew
all
and
who will
Gentile,
come.
right? They have they have a council in Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
The followers of Jesus, the friends of Jesus, after Jesus is resurrected and now the Holy Spirit has now been turned loose. Not just Holy Spirit sightings, but now the Holy Spirit is loose. They have
That's why he said we would do greater
the
things.
council in Jerusalem that they get together and say, "Oh, wait a minute. This seems to be moving beyond the synagogue, be outside of the Jewish culture. Is this right?" And they go, "This is right." Bottom line, they go, "This is right. This is what he was talking about. This is what he meant by, I have sheep of other kinds, I have people in other spaces." So anyway, fascinating that for they will return to me with their heart. And it doesn't say wicked heart anymore
Right.
in Jeremiah 24.
You would think it would.
It would if we still had a wicked heart. But they would return to me with their heart. So that's just a little bit of the technology that I think is really critical.
What you're reading out of right now, too, is
yeah.
the Heart of a Warrior Journal Workbook. So if you've read The Heart of a Warrior, you got to pick this up. So just go to zoweoutpost.com and get that, because it's just a deeper this is basically everything that wouldn't fit in The Heart of a Warrior.
Yeah.
Right?
And places in which we felt like you needed some space to interact
and explore a little deeper.
So funny.
Explore more.
I just turned. Can I read this? I just turned to the heart about this is John Eldredge in Waking the Dead. According to the scriptures, the heart can be troubled, wounded, pierced, grieved, even broken. How well we all know that. Thankfully, it can also be cheerful, glad, merry, joyful, rejoicing. The heart can be whole or divided. As in the phrase we often use, well, part of me wants to, but the other part of me doesn't. It can be wise or foolish. It can be steadfast, true, upright, stout, valiant. All of these descriptions can be found in pursuing the listings of the word heart in any concordance, right? So I think he wrote that because I told him that's what I did.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
I'm taking full credit for that.
You should.
Because that book came out after I did that.
Right. He based that whole book on your work.
Well, I was the guy who wrote him and sent him copies of my concordance and saying, "John, this is really good. You're right. You're right." In Wild at Heart, he talked about this. In The Sacred Romance, he talked about this. Anyway, it can be frightened, faint, cowardly, melt like wax. The heart can be wandering, forgetful, dull, stubborn, proud, hardened, perverse. I think we know all about that as well. Much to our surprise, according to Jesus, the heart can be pure. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God, Matthew 5:8.
Why would he say that if there were no pure at heart people that walk the earth?
Yeah. And is he just talking about we'll see God on the other side? Or we will see and hear with the eyes of our heart and the ears of our heart. We will see and hear God in this life and lifetime. Fascinating.
Very.
And even noble as his story about the sower. I was talking about this in the last episode. But the seed on good soil stands for those with a noble and good heart who hear the word, retain it, and by persevering, produce a crop. Luke 8:15. I was trying to remember Luke 5 or 8. Luke 8. Bible sees the heart as the source of all creativity, courage, and conviction. And then Proverbs 4, you mentioned.
Yeah, man. I think for the time we have left on this episode, I don't know how we're going to stop talking about this at the end of this episode, by the way. Like, I don't know. This is going to end up being 4 episodes probably.
Well, there's other podcasts. We've podcasted on it before.
We have. That's true.
And we wrote about it I wrote about it in Search and Rescue. I had to write about it in Heart of a Warrior. I had to write about it in King Me.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't not write about the life that we have been afforded through the cross as we go full circle is a life of right, renovation, transformation through this process known as sanctification so that we can become more and more and more and more like him.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no doubt Jesus, his heart, right, wasn't divided, wasn't corrupted. He didn't come from sin nature to the new nature.
Right.
So
he didn't have a heart of stone.
But he showed us what it could look like to be in relationship with the Father and be wholehearted. So it's not an issue of it can't be done. It's an issue of it can. And you can and he wants to do it in you, through you, with you, for you.
Yes.
And to you.
And you have to exercise, again, I said this in the last episode, you have to exercise your will because God doesn't need to change anything about himself. God doesn't change, right? It's us that have to take that responsibility and say, okay, I'm either going to believe what I'm reading or not. I need to do something differently. This isn't working for me. I'm not getting enough spiritual blood pumped through my body. I need to do something different here.
Yeah, and this is Paul's Romans 7. The things I want to do, I don't do. The things I don't want to do, that I do. You can read that all through. That is really about, but who will rescue me from this sin that he says in Romans 7 isn't me. He disassociates himself with sin, right? Wildly, Paul, who is somewhat responsible for the sinner, because he was the chief of sinners, right? But here we go, and he says, "But who will rescue me from this sin that's at work in me, but isn't me, but is at work in me?" It's just like we've talked about our friends who have had cancer. The cancer's not them, but the cancer's at work in them, and so sin does work. Galatians 5 is absolutely clear. The false self, the flesh, sin does a work. It does a number. It has an effect.
Yeah, it has wages.
And we've been freed from that. That's the beauty of getting all the do-overs that we need to learn how to live through the training and the guidance and the counsel of the Holy Spirit. So
let's assume, okay, I'm in. I'm doing it. I've got a new heart. I believe that's true. I'm going to operate differently. Now, how do I keep guard over that heart?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So come to a Heart of Aware weekend where we do 10 sessions in the dojo of how and what that looks like. Because real quick, SJ, I mean, as long as you're false self-dominant, and so you have a new nature, let me just say, but you can still live false self-dominant. That's the crap that kind of comes with you. All that old way that you were taught, and we see this in very drastic measures of, and we brought it up before, but the Hitler Youth, brainwashed. Yeah. Or in our case, heart-washed. Authority figures in their lives, and this is what it means to be a good German,
right?
And so my point before I get too silly with that is we've all had some brainwashing,
programming.
We've all had things that have happened to us, especially the wounding, hard and harsh things that people have done, and I'll call it sinned against us, or in some way somebody's mishandling of our hearts has left us in somewhat shambles.
Yeah, I think and probably because I'm helping a member of the team deal with some computer issues right now. So I'm thinking, you have this old computer, it's riddled with viruses so that it can barely function. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to get a new computer. Yeah. And what I'm going to do is take all of the programming that's on that old computer and I'm going to put it in the new one. That's really what happens. Yeah. Because even though we have this new heart, we have this new computer, we still have that old programming in us. Yeah. And so one by one, line by line, that code has to either be deleted or rewritten.
Yeah. You helping me in this space from time to time, you've never said it in an unkind way, but basically what you'd say to me from time to time is you sure it's a computer? Is it user error?
Yeah, is it operator
Is it
error?
operator error?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, maybe, probably. And then,
Yeah, how many files do you have and
And then
programs
you
do you have
say-
open right now?
can you shut it down? Can you just turn it off for 5 minutes? Because I'm notorious for, open files, open applications, open. So yeah, you get all that running, right? And it compromises things and the ability. When you only put your computer to sleep and never let it reboot, you're going to crash. You're going to, and I've seen it with many people on our team. And now I've learned to say to my daughters, have you turned it off? Never? No. How long? Months. All right. Well, hey, back it up in case something really goes crazy. But so this back to the point of here's where I want to go. This is relieving. This is a relief to know. And I'd say to anybody, kick the tires, man. Test drive it.
Yeah.
Look at it. Look at it biblically. Look at it biblically. Look at it biblically.
Yeah.
I'd say look at it biblically and see, because I think the evidence is overwhelming. I love what John wrote in Waking the Dead, but it's just very, very apparent that this spiritual anatomy, right? This organ of perception is processing. And what's in there, comes out.
Yep.
What's in there is how I see it. And if there's some things that aren't good in there, then we know that God wants to make good.
Right.
If
If the programming that you're using to process the information that's coming in is not giving you the result that you're looking for, it's time to reprogram.
Something's up.
Something's not right.
Yeah.
So in the few minutes we have left in this episode, let's talk about guarding our hearts. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You brought that up. Sorry.
It's okay. Because I went off on the tangent too of the computers and all that. But the idea is, okay, I'm going to get it all cleaned up and all figured out and all working exactly like Jesus, and then I'll guard it. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It's a both and, right? You've told a story a number of times, I know too, on the podcast about, being set free from something that had a grip on you and then feeling like it was coming back in, and it was like, no, it's not in you, but it wants to be back in you. So you have to guard.
Just got an email
against yourself
from a sweetheart, a woman who said, hey, it's not going well again. I know it's been a few years since we saw you. And this falling back, kind of into, and she wasn't telling on him as much as she was reaching out in some pain.
Right.
And to your point, if you cease the vigilant and the intentional guarding of your heart, you can go backwards. You can take ground from the enemy, and we have. But to answer your question, how do you do that? You pay attention, right? You create a security system that watches what you think and watches what you say. And so we would say to any man, if you've broken vows and agreements that you made with the enemy, don't make any new ones.
Right.
So
don't re-sign.
So
for
First
those.
Kings 3. This is I think just a great example of what to do. How do you do this? So Solomon is coming into the kingship, and he's going to be the king of Judah. He's met by God, and in this conversation about a request. And he says to God that, governing your people, reigning and ruling for you in this position is overwhelming. I'm too young. My father taught me some things. I watched it. I don't know if I can do this. So I will ask you, God, for right? Everybody says wisdom. It's not what he asks for. He asks for a wise and discerning heart.
Yep.
If Easton's is right, if Unger's is right,
Yep.
if Vine's is right, Solomon's right. This core I need in order to be the king that you want me to be, God. I need a wise and discerning heart.
Right.
And God says, because you didn't ask for this and because you didn't ask for that, I'm giving you this and that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you wealth. I'm going to expand. He's very pleased with the request. And,
Sure.
and so one of my answers is ask and you shall receive.
Mm-hmm.
Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be opened. Ask, seek, and knock for a wise and discerning heart. And if you think it's just going to be downloaded, you're silly.
Right. It's not like the Matrix where you just get plugged into the back of your head.
So and it is like the Matrix in that you're going to get unplugged.
You're going to get unplugged,
and then you're going to get
see.
trained into how it works.
That's
I love
right.
that you brought up that. It's absolutely it's not like the Matrix in that way.
But it is.
You once the download comes, you still have to go practice it.
That's right.
Right? What does Neo say? I know jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And what does Morpheus say?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Show me.
Yeah.
And
because
so
just
they go
because
into
you
dojo.
know the technical aspect of it doesn't mean you know how to fight.
Right. It's absolutely true. So to step into that training circle, with the Holy Spirit of you have a wise and discerning heart. Now let's use it. Let's learn how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
There are two kingdoms at war. You want to be on the right side, right? The enemy's not done with you. He wants to take you out. He wants to take out your family. He wants to go after your kids. He is. He doesn't want. He is.
Yeah.
He is.
And he's ancient.
And so wise and
a cunning
discerning.
enemy. Yeah.
Wise and discerning means you're freaking paying attention. You are the security guard
Yep.
of your kingdom. You are watching and awakened to that we live outside the garden, the snakes outside the garden. For now, until the second coming, Jesus calls him the prince of this dark world. And then in Matthew 28, he says, and now all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me, and I give it to you. So how? You've got to exercise. You brought it up earlier.
Exercise your will.
You got to get your will back.
Understand what your power and authority is.
You can exercise your will, and that you can do what Jesus did.
Mm-hmm. How much, who was it? You talk about it at the King Me book tours. How much of the Bible, how much of the Scripture is about power and authority in the New Testament?
80%.
80% of the New Testament is about power and authority. Why do you think that is?
Yeah.
Because we need to wield it, and we need it. Yeah, absolutely.
I know. And so that was amazing to me as you brought it up. Thank you for bringing it. It was amazing to me. And then as I looked at it more and more, and that was that's one of the big reasons why I wrote King Me was, oh my gosh, I do not want to underachieve here. Mm-hmm. Does he love me? Yes. Mm-hmm. When you pull every petal off of does he love me? Yes. It's yes. Every petal. There's no, he loves me not. There's no love me not.
There's no love me not.
He loves me.
Mm-hmm.
Loves me. But what is he empowering me to do? Why am I here? It's to enforce love. Mm-hmm. It's to enforce all the goodness of the kingdom. It's to live the life.
Live here like you're there.
Bind whatever you bind
on earth is
bound in heaven. That's power and authority.
Absolutely.
You'll see when you start messing around with those glasses, it was like, good night. He's right.
Yeah. All right, I want to share this as we're landing the plane because I just loved the way that you talked about this in the biblical theology of the heart. So Proverbs 4, 21 and 23. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we know 23 really well. 4. So this is kind of a collection of those scriptures. He, my earthly father, taught me and said, so this is Solomon talking about David. Mm-hmm. He, my earthly father, taught me and said, lay hold of my words with all your heart. Keep my commands and you will live. 21, do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart. 23, above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. So, yeah, we hear this, Proverbs 4:23. We talk about it a lot. We
really
share
good.
it at the weekend a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure it's been communicated to most guys, because it wasn't to me until I got into this message.
Yeah.
That what does guarding your heart mean? So we
why?
have talked about that and why and how and all of that. So power and authority.
Yeah.
I mean, have we done a podcast on power and authority?
No.
We probably need to do that then.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
And guard what? Guard the goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Above all else, guard your heart, for it's the wellspring of life.
Mm-hmm.
Guard the good that you know.
Yes.
And the good that you're going to know, that
Yeah.
he's going to entrust you. Guard the good. Right? And that's the transformation of let's get the crap out.
Everything that's healthy has an indoor and an outdoor. Okay, so your heart is the same way.
Yeah.
There's stuff you can kick out, and you need to kick it out.
Yeah. With the power and the authority given to you through Christ,
That's right.
and through the power of the cross, resurrection, and ascension. I mean, dude, like you said earlier, we got to land this one, but
Yeah.
it's,
Hey, if you got questions, comments, things you want to ask us about, in regards to this or anything else, ExploringMore@Zoweh.org. Shoot us an email.
Yeah.
Write something down in the comments down below. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah. Yep. And we're looking forward to some more podcasts. We've got some more resources coming out this fall.
Yep.
Check out our YouTube channel.
Working on the journal workbook for King Me.
Yep.
King Me.
I know this you hear this on everything, and I'm just going to throw ours in there. Hey man, the subscribe, the likes,
They matter.
Those things matter. Helps get this out.
Mm-hmm.
If you do like it and want to subscribe to it, that's very helpful.
I don't think we've ever said that before.
Don't do it if you don't like it.
If you don't like it,
or want to subscribe. But if you do, or if you're watching these on the regular, man, that's really helpful to like and subscribe. Even pass it along. We do that all the time with each other.
Oh yeah,
with some of our favorite Dallas Willard and Oswald Chambers and John Ortberg. And funny stuff.
And Brad Upton, Dry Bar Comedy. We share those too.
And who's the one? Bargatze?
Nate Bargatze.
Oh, yeah, man.
Oh, man. Hilarious.
Oh, Deion Sanders now? Man, I've been watching a lot of Deion anyway on YouTube. So anyway,
Go Buffaloes.
all that to say, Exploring More podcasts, like, subscribe, send it on down the road. And hey, we'll see you on down the road next time on the Exploring More podcast.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Exploring More. The landing page for this podcast is zoweh.org/podcast. That's ZOWEH.org/podcast, where you can find the show notes and various platforms to which we broadcast. You can also find us and the Life of More by visiting Zoweh on YouVersion Bible app, Right Now Media, our Facebook page, and Zoweh on Instagram and Twitter. Remember, with God there is always more, and you were made for more.